there's imbalance in terms of the powers and agendas. And we know that United Nations very much like American driven because it's based on the donor, right? He said, the first thing he said, I wish to build a rocket to send all the politicians somewhere in the universe.
Oh, okay.
And I'd have to say, like, this is the best thing I ever heard.
Exactly.
Anna Kadzik is an educator and a human rights advocate. With a PhD in art history from UCD University, she has made significant contributions to academia, culture institutions, and international education initiatives. In this podcast, we'll explore the deeply impactful topics of the Gaza conflict through Anna's unique perspective.
I saw this kind of a parallel in maths, and the closest to rationale of what's happening in Gaza was the pi number.
I have to say, like, I hate math. I'm not like, if you ask me, who do you hate more, Netanyahu or math, I would tell you math.
Aggression fuels it. And that's the kind of, if it fuels it, it becomes greater than aggression.
And he says, it's very rude of you to punish me for what I have done to you and forget what you have done to me.
Yeah.
Her initiative to bring education to Afghan women through online schools.
So I have the networks. I come from academia. I have a lot of colleagues, friends who are lecturers, and this was my first kind of concept was, let's do something from here.
And the powerful story behind the documentary Voiceless.
And Frishta describes your school as the lights in the darkness.
Yeah, I think coming back to what Frishta says, how I'm part of something that we're part of much bigger community. We're not only here, right?
This podcast is sponsored by no one.
Anna, how are you?
Good, very good. Hello,
The first episode of the Palestinian podcast. You were a big part of making this podcast happen because you're the one who encouraged me. But like, I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think of the name, the Palestinian podcast? It's very creative. Like, I gave it too much thought. Like, I was like, I'm Palestinian and I'm doing a podcast, so I could call it the Palestinian. No, it's not that creative. But yeah, it was. It's a great step of letting people and showing people what they do towards society, and we can also talk about conflict through these podcasts that we'll do, Gaza, and the great work that you do in Afghanistan, which will come later. But first, we need to know more about you. You are a woman of many talents. You studied. You are a former architect, academic, and now currently you're an international human rights activist, and you're doing youth work and working with international cooperation like Largus. And I wanted to ask you in the beginning, like, what was the reason that made you shift towards being that person, that having a passion from going from architect to being a human rights activist?
First, I'd like to thank you for having me. That's one thing. I'm absolutely delighted to be part of this first podcast, and I'm absolutely honored to be the first speaker. And yes, the name is great. I think it's so simple. And it actually shows what it is, you know, in terms of from your personal context, because you're the boss of the space. And Palestinian context is really international context with a lot of people involved. And we'll come back to this one probably in the conversation. So my career path is quite strange if you think about it, but at the same time, it's not. As engineer, because that's the kind of a flat space in terms of the basic for architecture, it's inquiry based. It's about solutions, ideas, improvement, creating spaces and people in those spaces. So the person, no matter what sort of space you create, you design, you think of, it's a person. And it's a person that how that person is going to work in the space that you create for them. Whether it's the galleries for multiple visitors or is it housing, it's still about people. So people were center for me. And when you design, you need to know people who are going to use the space. And it's a natural kind of architecture is providing security. It has walls, roof, and they have to feel safe. Exactly. So it's this kind of remarkable context of the human inside of whatever building we are building, creating. And you have to make sure that they are safe. Yes. Not only feel good about them being in the space, but also that they are safe and protected. And how they find they own space within the space that you created for them. So it is very human-centered, and that's how it led me to the next steps. I always wanted to explore more historical context. I was so driven into history. So I did a master's in history as well. And then I moved to Ireland to do the PhD in art history. And I did the PhD in art history, again, very conscious about people. It was art history / archaeology. I was doing my PhD in Coptic textiles, which is the archaeological material. So very connected to Egypt. Again, this coming back to my own childhood, where I wanted to always be an archaeologist. So again, the need for seeking for evidence, answers, more tangible, but connected to people. Yeah. So in any of those, I was discovering that there is something that interests me, people. Mm-hmm. From social science through politics, through us as people. And I suppose this was growing in me. And because I'm quite a diverse person in terms of my DNA, genetics. So I think that need of looking for answers in all the cultures that probably are here somewhere, beating in my heartbeat. So I think this kind of led me to this very different, complex and very different in terms of the nature and the roots, but always people were the center.
Amazing. It's a great way of putting it. So you were designing safe houses in architect, and then you went out into your society and community to do that for them. And that's such a great cause. And I feel everybody has that kind of sense of responsibility towards community or the society that they live in, or like maybe border, like what you have done in terms of going to Afghanistan and trying to do a lot of work where you can help women's in terms of women's rights to education, which we'll come to it later. So like I can, there's a quote for Nelson Mandela that says, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made on the lives of others." Would you say that this is something that you are doing, or you want to do, or you're trying to do, or Yeah, you probably are doing it, but maybe do you feel it that what is going on?
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful quote, and in many of those things that I do relate to that. But at the same time, I think that the major thing that my dad always was saying, if you stop believing in people, you stop believing in yourself. So,
Nice.
and I think this is something, and he has been as well through a lot of political upheavals in his country, and changes, and he's been a very vocal person in terms of that space. So he went through his own journey, and I wanted to go through my own journey, but in a different context, of changes that he was fighting for has happened, and now we are living in those changes, change he made, and how now we are into the next cycle of the change of a new space in terms of the civil society and the societies. But I think there is something about us communities that we no matter in what political context we're living, we work it out. It's like this kind of a saying in terms of it takes a village to raise a kid. So the villagers are coming together, and we are working that, no matter of what sort of a difference we may have. The commonalities are bringing us together. So if we still have that in our hearts, that's the most important thing, and we can do so much more together. And maybe send one of the Syrian astronomers, he said when he fled from Syria and he moved to America, and he said, the first thing he said, I wish to build a rocket to send all the politicians somewhere in the universe.
Oh, okay.
And I'd have to say, like, this is the best thing I ever heard.
Exactly.
Because we people can deal with so many challenges, no matter what challenges, we still figure it out. It's that politics that
It's like politics and politician also itself. It's like it's very questionable in terms of morality, because there's a lot of corruption when it comes to politics. That's the reason why many people go ahead and overrun their governments, is because of the corruption that is in the power of these leaders. So it is a lot, and as you said, like it takes people to change, not the ones who are in the government, or the people who are in charge, because they will always look back to their benefit and where their interest is. So it's a hard truth. It's something tough to take, but it is the reality, and we will try to change in that and keep fighting for what's right. So we are in your studio, right? In your comfort zone, I would say.
Yes.
This is like the unique thing about this podcast, is that we go to the guest house and place, so we can make them feel comfortable. Not because we don't have a studio or anything. Like we have the ability to get that. No, but it's such a nice way. I was thinking about finding excuse why not having a studio, and and that came up. So I said, okay, that's a nice one. But you like to draw and
Yes.
paint and do artistic things, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say that you spend most of your time here in the studio?
No, most of the time I would be traveling. Most of the time I would be on the road. But here it's my safe space, and nobody who comes here, and it's just myself and my thoughts. And this is where I feel that I can deal with a lot of things that are building up in me. I deal with a lot of international spaces. As you've mentioned, I work for the Irish National Agency in not only in the youth sector, but in all of the sectors. So I'm the kind of a link in the international space. So traveling stress, a lot of things that are actually so heavy that you need to find your own space. So this is my own space, and this is where I hide. So if you don't, and it's great because the coverage here isn't great. So this is my, nobody can access me here, and I do paint here. I bring, even though in the house I have loads of space, like I still bring it here because it's my own space. And I painted a lot way before.
Yeah.
Not now.
And would you say coming here when you want to just get away from all of that, and painting helps you to get rid of that stress? Would you do that to get?
Yeah, like I think in the past, very much so. I think less now. Something has changed in me. I do still quick sketches when I'm in trying to get back to myself on planes. So when I'm leaving the meeting spaces, that's always very intense. It's international space. So when I come back to Dublin, I often take my sketchbook and I do the quick sketches. And painting is way longer. So that quick sketches gives me that quicker reaction rather than painting that requires you a couple of layers, and then it became at some point a painting a bit heavy. So I was like, no, I think I need to stop. So anything I painted is just the history. So quick sketches.
That's nice. That's nice. There's a quote by Van Gogh, you know, the artist, the big artist, that one who cut his ear. Yeah, he said, I'm seeking, I'm striving, I'm in it with all my heart. And this was in terms of him talking about the art and his passion. What is that for you that you seek and you strive, and that it's you in with all your heart?
I had the striving. It's the striving for change. And I can't identify what that change is. We're living in difficult. Yeah, I think it is good change. Yeah, it has to be. We are living in difficult times, and again, it's that kind of a cycle of my dad striving to certain change. I have the same obligation towards my daughter, and I'm striving to make that world better for her. But I'm not alone, I'm with people. So for me, that striving, whether through artistic media or through the social engagement or working with the communities or working in an international space, it's always striving to change for better. It turns out later that better, it's actually worse. We know that.
In some cases.
In some cases, absolutely. Whatever we wanted to fix, sometimes the fixing is actually causing more problems than the previous situation.
But the thing is, it's always like, if it didn't change, it will keep on going.
Yeah.
So change always better than just sticking to that place. Like if there's the quote, I don't know if I would remember it now. If you do the same thing, the same day will keep repeating itself.
Yeah.
So you'll have to change if you want to change. And in so many cases, when there's something bad that needs to be changed, we don't just let it to change by itself. We do an action to it. And whether that action is good or bad, we'll see the results, and then we'll try another thing if it's bad. So it's an amazing strive of yours for change. I really do like the way you put it. Yeah,
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Gaza and Palestine. As you know, the ceasefire have been announced 2 days before. Now we're now the 18th, is it? And it will be implemented tomorrow, the 19th of January this year. What was your reaction to the ceasefire announcement?
Relief, but we know straight after the ceasefire what had happened. Israel took again another shot of stretching the muscle of creating the fear and killing more people. We know that the cycle of Gaza conflict, it's gonna be on the table constantly. And it is another temporary solution.
Exactly.
And it will come back. It will come back, and it is. I'm relieved, and I have friends in Gaza, and it's not even the fact that it's the happy relief, because as well the state of Gaza at the moment, which I saw this morning, Al Jazeera brought forward the stocktake in terms of lives lost, the percentage of ruined parts of Gaza. It's humongous. It's like they showed it's nearly 93% of the land completely destroyed. 73% schools. Who targets schools?
Yeah.
That's not war. War is between the soldiers, not civil society. And here was, and as well, statistics, United Nations statistics brought forward as well. This was November last year. They were taking the stock of life losses in terms of the real deaths. So we don't know how many people are under rubbles. They're not accounted because they're accounted as missing. So we do not know the statistics, but there are 70% of those deaths were children and women.
Exactly. And like half of the population is children. So whenever you say like a civilian death, there always have to be children, women. It was like 70%. That's a lot. And when we look at like relief is such a good way to describe it, because I also wasn't sure whether I should be happy. Like I was seeing all these celebrations, like should I be happy?
Exactly.
And then I saw the video of that father when he was comforting his dead daughter, and he was telling her that wake up, it's the war is ended. But like this is why I didn't like when I saw that video. I said like why celebrate now? Maybe tomorrow I'll celebrate, like after it's implemented, because they will try to destroy as much as they can before they leave, and kill as many people before they leave. So that was like for me, like should I be happy or not? And as you said, it's like a temporary thing, because if there's no real action to it by stopping the blockade, and it's a cycle which will come to your article about that. But like it's a cycle that always keep doing it. Like Gaza wars like 2008, and like it was a lot of things, and it's just a period until people say enough, and we have to move. So it's that kind of a thing where now it will be rebuilt, and maybe it will be destroyed again, and that's the harsh truth about it. So yeah, in your last article that you have written, it's titled "The Unavoidable Logic of Buy in Politics." First, I have to say, like, I hate math. I'm not like, if you ask me, who do you hate more, Netanyahu or math? I would tell you math. Like, I can listen to Netanyahu and like to just listen to the stupid thing he says and the lies and just critique him. But like spending 5 minutes maybe on an equation, no. But it was very interesting to see that mathematical the metaphor applied to such thing like in politics. So what inspired you to do that, and what did that metaphor represent for you in the Gaza conflict?
Yeah, maths, as you said, it's not the happy place for many people, right? Unless you're a mathematician or you're a person who spends time in terms of engineering the answers, in terms of the adequate answers. Maths is not a happy place. And because of this parallel of not a happy place, there are some elements that I look for answers. And on top of we were saying about who I am and my whole path through the career, the last part of my journey in terms of academia and a researcher was last year. I completed the international peace studies with Trinity College, and one of the reasons I signed up for this was because I had so many unanswered questions. And I was trying to find answers, and I actually left with more questions than answers. So because we are so looped in this space of repetition, especially in terms of Gaza, I saw this kind of a parallel in maths, and the closest to rationale of what's happening in Gaza was the pi number. And so I started calculating, and I divided this article into two kind of stages, not to be biased. So the first calculation is a pure conflict. As we see at what we takes, we just basically start calculating just the conflict of Gaza. And then it left me with astonishing answer in terms of we're coming back to the same, that irrational infinite space of pi, but also what is the factor in this. So the three factors that I took in the components of that calculation was the aggression, resistance, and the last one was international community.
Amazing. I loved it very much when I was reading, like, okay, that's exactly how the conflict is could be described.
Exactly.
In these three elements.
And when you, even if you hate maths, you will see exactly the element, the components of this irrational conflict.
Yes.
And as deep as you go in the in the calculations, the last phase of the calculation was the last stage that I took. Sorry, you would
But
say
yes. But just for the people who haven't read the
yes,
article,
sorry.
just
Yes.
what everything stands for: aggression, resistance, and international community. In terms of like just a simple brief about them, in terms of the aggression, where does it come from, resistance, and international.
Right, as the components of the power.
Yeah. Like,
So the aggression. So the aggression comes from specifically from Israel, right? Repetitive aggression. It's like this, and even if you take away from Gaza, it's if you parallel to your own experience on a personal, if you're constantly poked, your resistance builds up and nearly become aggressive. So this is the next factor that goes into the resistance, how we stay non-violent resistant. And when we become violent, because we have enough.
exactly.
And then the last one is the international community. And not that they exist, but there is inaction. So the passiveness, also lack of understanding, the own personal agenda, and a lot of politics. That Gaza is specifically geopolitical agenda for many allies involved in this.
How does the international community aggravates this cycle? Because like we've seen in terms of this war, there was a huge movement by people of the countries, but it wasn't that much from countries itself. So how, like, is it a huge role in it? Is it like how good of a role that the international community can play?
First, which is unpunished aggression and unpunished crimes. That's one of the things that responsibility lies with international community. If we can't name and address crimes, then we are dysfunctional. Because after the Second World War, we all agreed in the Western international community to certain human norms. And if we can't identify within what Netanyahu is doing in Gaza as crimes on people, genocide, then that's where the problem is within the international community. So that's one of the factors. Second factor is confusion in the space. We have America sending over and fueling this conflict by intervening with Israel in terms of supporting them, and all other countries being confused. Where are we? Because if we stay on this side, then they will look at us and they will be looking at that we are actually our allies now with Iran, or because we're supporting Hamas and Hezbollah. It's nothing to do with this. It became this nearly a paranoia of who stands for. Gaza people were always misrepresented. And Palestinians are still misrepresented. And I know that directly from yourself, from our friends as well, that misrepresentation unfortunately put a little bit of a backlog in terms of representation of Palestinian people in international community, which they should.
Exactly, like what you said about not being able to say that it's crime and it's a genocide. I don't know if you like, especially the mainstream, like, for example, I don't know if you've seen that reporter in the CNN where there's this beautiful kid She's a young girl that died. Her name is Hind, and she was killed by Israel. And in that news, that reporter, she says the woman Hind was killed. So imagine, like, they know that it's wrong. Like, it's wrong. It's they're killing children, but still, it's very hard to say. And this is like the CNN where we say, like, it's a democratic place. And always America has to do with the ongoing of the horrific crimes and the genocide that Netanyahu and Israel are pursuing. Because if they don't have that support, they won't be able to continue with the killing. So these are two factors that has to do a lot with the international community in terms of action, inaction. So yeah, in the article, in the last thing, in the conclusion, you say while Bai captures the irrational, infinite complicity of the conflict, its application to resolution remains limited without drastic structural changes. And can you tell me in these the three things that you talked about in the article?
Yeah, it's mainly the structure. I was leading towards the structure into international community. There is this kind of a responsibility to protect that has evolved and gave its own permission in terms of interventions. That was the result of many of the interventions of UN into conflicts evolve in terms of its own space. But we know that the structure within the international community is definitely there's imbalance in terms of the powers and agendas, and we know that United Nations very much like American driven, because it's based on the donor, right? So more donor is going to give to UN, more proclaim they're gonna follow the agenda, political agenda. So that's imbalance that it's within the international community. It's dangerous in any kind of conflicts that are happening elsewhere. They can happen in Europe in the future. We don't know that. We have Putin just at the border, very near Europe. We are living in difficult times in terms of how from 0 to escalation of 100 and reactive responses in terms of egomaniacs, psychopaths, rulers are happening. And the more we dive into it, we see that people, that societies are left out. We're not part of any of that conversations, and yet we are the voters. We are giving them the power. And if we cannot see that it's our obligation of making sure that politicians are, as Margaret Thatcher said, your government, they don't have money. They're not magicians. They're not rich people are giving you money. Absolutely, that comes from your tax. We are the taxpayers who making sure we are hiring them. And as she said, you hired the government. And as cruel as she was, still that vision in terms of we, by voting, we are hiring person to represent us. And that's exactly what international community is going through at the moment, in terms of a lot of changes that can navigate.
That goes and lays into the first one, which is international accountability, that it has to go from negative to positive. And what about stabilization of growth, investments, and economic growth in Gaza? That will also...
That has to has a massive factor again, and very much external in terms of the first steps. At the moment, that part is completely ruined. And for now, normal process of recovery for any conflict is a grieving. So people has to raise from the rubbles, and they have to start the process of grieving, reconciliation in their own small communities, and it takes time. The economic depends how, again, that aid from the international community will follow. It will give a natural boost to economy. But again, it is self-regulated market, but that's really up to how people in Gaza are going to take on the next level, and knowing that this is not the first time
Exactly.
we are seeing. It's that cycle of irrational repetition, infinite space. They raise again from ashes.
That's what makes them very strong, actually.
Exactly.
And a lot of people were saying, like, how can a person that his house just was destroyed can come up and just say bad thing about Israel, or just thank God that he wasn't there? It's such quite a strength
Yeah.
that built into them, which created resilience and adaptability to what's next, and always looking forward. So now they'll go and they will build back what's been destroyed, although they have some thoughts that it might be destroyed again. You have to be very strong to do that, I think. Yeah, and the third one was the equity in resistance, empowering non-violent resisting mechanism can stabilize the dynamic. But here, like, but only if, like, if the aggression, you say, but only if aggression is significantly curtailed.
Yeah.
Which, like, here, the question here, like, how can a non-violent resistant mechanism effectively contract a systematic aggression?
First of all, the aggression has to be named and shamed. That's one thing. And I think there should be accountable acts in terms of what Netanyahu did.
By whom shamed?
Well, that's the court, international court. And these were the criminal acts. So that's one of the things. But at the same time, in terms of the non-violent resistance, and Palestinians are the best people out of all of the nations staying resistant. Like the symbol of the key, the keys that they have with them, no matter whether the house is there or not, it's the key. They will come back there. And they will. And no matter how many times Israel or any other conflicts that will lead them to that space of resistance, it's gonna grow way higher than to aggression fuels it.
Amazing.
And that's the kind of, if it fuels it, it becomes greater than aggression. And I suppose it's in them. I don't think any other countries that have been so oppressed has such a strength in them in terms of, because if it was me and my neighbors and anybody, we would be like, okay, pack, go, that's it. And we would probably make our homes elsewhere where they are coming back.
Yeah, that's why they are strong. because like even when Israel went in and they said you have to empty the North Gaza, and nobody was leaving, they were staying,
Yeah.
and they were bombed. That's such strength into belonging to
Yeah.
their land, and knowing that this is my property. Why should I get out of it? Why should I go to another country, which a lot of countries started saying, like go to Egypt, go to Jordan, or something like. So it was something that like it's not that they don't want to leave, because this is their land. And as you said, like this aggression will always fuel aggression. And like I always get surprised when people like for example journalists like Piers Morgan, when the 7th of October happened, every Palestinian guest he would ask him, do you condemn the 7th of October? And that is like there's this saying by Khalil Gibran. I don't know if you're familiar with it. He's a Lebanese writer. And he says, it's very rude of you to punish me for what I have done to you and forget what you have done to me.
Yeah.
So like, you've been doing this for 75 years and I just resisted. And also like in that resist, it's not like it's as you said, it's not equity resistance, because there's two levels of power. The power here is very low, that can fight and resist in terms of that. Like I remember one of the people who described it really good, Trevor Noah. I think it was in the 2008 war. He said like, it's like going to your little brother that hit you and you hit him very back. You hit him 10 times more. And who would get the blame then? Who would your mom blame or something? So it's very like normal for these people to resist.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's a natural thing. And any kind of resistance has its limits as well in terms of non-violence. And any kind of resistance in terms of change that's gonna relieve that. Because we can't exist constantly resisting. We are built into an environment where we can move around safely. And if you're constantly in fear of losing life or losing your closest, I don't know how people, whoever are standing behind and supporting Israel, can think of, if they have their own children living with them, and they're like, let's take a simple you have 4 children and one is killed. Okay, you've been grieving, but it's okay. The second was killed. How do you feel like a mother or dad of a child being killed second time, the second child? How you can survive the third child death? How you can survive the fourth child death? And then the person who killed is still seen as he did nothing or she did nothing. There is this kind of a limit to aggression in the context of physical abuse, and we normalize this. We set the frames, we set the framework in terms of how we as human beings operate in this world.
Yeah.
And how we can get it.
There's absolutely no excuse for a person to stand with Israel, with all the thing. Like, even if you're religious, it goes definitely against your religion. If you're atheist, it goes against your morals, because you're saying these people are being oppressed because of their religion. And like, if you're a nationalist, you want to your home, your land. So in all ways, wherever you put it, it would always come to where you stand, with what's right, with what your eyes can see. So like if a person who supports Israel he's definitely has to be a Zionist.
Yes.
I think that's my opinion.
It is, and I can say that, like, as a Jew, with quite high percentage in my genetics, I can really say that nothing explains. If it is explained the war between the religions, that's not true, because we know that Zionists are the territorial and colonial driven movement, and there's nothing to do with religion. And even their religion, if we're talking about the religion, which of the sides permits the cruelty that is happening on the human beings?
Exactly.
So we can't justify any of that. And naming and shaming is one of the steps that should happen in international space, so that people, specifically from Gaza, they are not misrepresented, but they are presented the way they are.
Well, the thing about naming and shaming, it always happens when there is something happen, when there's a war. Because before October the 7th, we never seen millions of people in the streets in all the capitals of these countries. So it's kind of hard to know people that are sticking to that resistance without people are dying in the same moment. This is something that maybe it should be put, like, we can shame them even if they're not killing people at the moment, because if they're not killing that many people, they're definitely killing some, because October the 6th, October the 5th, they were doing that, and that was the reason why October 7 happened. Yeah. So enough about Palestine. Let's move a bit away to Afghanistan. So Afghanistan and women's rights to education, you play a big role in that by founding online schools for women that are and girls that are looking to develop themselves and educate themselves and have hope for the future. Can you tell us a bit about founding these schools? What challenges you faced, and have you had resistance or support in founding these schools?
It started, so the first ban has been induced by Taliban in 2021 in August on the postgraduate schools. And my reaction was, maybe it's a temporary, because Taliban stated that they wanted to make the curricula Islamic, which is a bit still irrational, because boys are still attending the school. So if it meant to be like across the board, why there is a difference? And that escalation on women was kind of growing the appetite in terms of bans on and depriving women's rights were growing one after another and another, and added with that additional banning higher level education. And then I thought in my head, enough is enough. And my reaction to this was a very quick one. So I have the networks. I come from academia. I have a lot of colleagues, friends who are lecturers, and this was my first kind of concept was, let's do something from here, right? And because I've been working prior to that. I've been working for many years in the human rights spaces where are non-Afghan people living as a refugees and here in Europe. And so for me, it was very easy to set up the constellations, how it's gonna work. And so from small network of lecturers and figure out how we can access the girls in Afghanistan, it grew to a substantial network of now post-primary schools, satellites of post-primary schools in Ireland, stemming to Afghan schools in Afghanistan, and also higher level and English. And so there is a lot of kind of needs covered within that space, and those needs are emerging as that duration or prolonged waiting for Islamic curricula stays. And so in the space of within 2-3 years, we grew to 2,500 girls who are using the online schools through different ways of connecting with them, either through online or sometimes some of them are on the grounds. Again, reaching out to rural spaces in Afghanistan, because cities are better provided with access to Wi-Fi, which is often limited as well due to the power cuts, but also the quality of the Wi-Fi. But the rural are very much underserved in terms of the education, so it's very much people to people, so it's a lot of people on the ground there in Afghanistan as well.
Yeah. We would come to the part where the relation of Islam in terms of Taliban's restrictive regime in terms of women education. But before we get onto that, I want to go to the Voiceless documentary that was made, and you were part of supporting that documentary and making it happen. And that documentary is about a teenager named Freshta. Yes, it's a hard version there. Freshta. So she's a very ambitious girl that wants to be an international singer, and she faces all these difficulties and obstacles since Taliban came in, and she does have a very beautiful voice, and she says that her role model is Shakira, and she sang this song in the documentary, which says, "I keep falling down, I keep hitting the ground, but I always get up to see what's next. Birds don't just fly, they fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong." So what does that song gives you emotions after you heard it from that girl that is really passionate, but there's a lot of restrictive things that limit her in achieving what she wants to achieve on the basis of unfair restrictive regime like Taliban.
First of all, hats off to Zahra, who made that film, and she created the whole concept of documenting the situation of young girls and women in Afghanistan and their dreams, actually. And that's Voiceless is about. It's about dreams of young women, women who had lives before Taliban took over, who lived in life in an environment where they could do anything, and over the sudden that has been all taken away. Their rights have been taken away. They have been deprived of every single thing as the appetite of Taliban grow in terms of politics. There are pure politics behind all this. There is no rationale behind it. No matter what they say, there's no logic in it. So in a way, that's what Fresh Day is trying to say. It's this hopes that they have. That's the first thing. And for as long as we as international, again, coming back to the responsible international community, we see that and we do nothing. It's again passive space of international community. It's the saddest probably state of our reactions to certain things, especially in times where we can reach out to them. There was a Cold War in Europe, and we had no internet at that time. We were very limited. So now we have all of this, and we can go beyond and above in terms of supporting the community in needs, especially women and especially young girls. And those dreams, as you were saying, that she's trying to show her passion to something that she still believes it's gonna happen, and it will. It will. It's just a matter of time. So Taliban won't last. That's for sure. Not in the state that they are ruling their own country. So it's just a matter of time.
Exactly. And hopefully it will be a quick time, not Alabama. Yeah, and there is this I wonder like how powerful art is, especially in terms of film, for example. So the reason why we know about First is because of that documentary that was made by a creator, an artist, that that her film led to shedding the light on this conflict that is going on. And this movie, this short documentary, got into many festivals, especially talking about big ones like Cannes Festival. That is incredible. That's what we can say about. And what do you think about that? Like art in terms of a tool of freedom of expression or something like this, and what feelings do you have that this short film have gotten that much attention?
First of all, I think if we think about times of a prohibition or underground as such, always art was the most powerful outlet in terms of reaching out to the highest numbers. I think what Zahra right move in terms of telling a story of one of the students of the schools, online schools, was the fact that she really wanted to show a vulnerability of them, but also the strength. Because we as our international, and in one of our articles I was writing about in terms of women in peace building, and I was writing this co-writing with one of Afghan journalists. We were talking about how advocacy is happening within the international space on behalf of those girls. And Zahra's move in terms of, actually, no, hold on for a second. We're not going to talk about them. They're going to talk about themselves. And the power of arts goes beyond and above in terms of reaching out to greater communities that may not be aware of any of this because they don't want to have anything to do with the politics. They don't want to... But the story is the most powerful. And the story is very, it's the essence of the youth. And the essence of the youth, it's the freedom. And Freshta is very powerful of showing what she's the best at, and she's an incredible singer. But also Zahra, as a female Afghan director, Hazara, shows that, no, hold on for a second. This is the space, equal space for us as well. So art still, thankfully, allow for that.
Yeah,
And hopefully it will.
that's the beautiful thing about especially documentaries, because in documentaries you always have to get a story, and maybe like in most of the time it's a real story. So when you combine the artist that makes and tells the story of that person in such a good way, you create something that will be looked at, will be recognized by a lot of people. And that what happened for Voiceless documentary. And Frishta describes your school as the light in the darkness. How does it feel to know that your initiative, your something that you have founded, can make a person have a second chance and hope towards that?
I think, again, as we started this conversation about believing in people, none of this would happen without people, right? So I think every single person who is involved in this should take this kind of a moment after reflection. Wow, we did something incredible, because we're not organization, we're not charity, we are not a kind of labeled by any kind of, or framed in the space. It's a very much like a school to school, university to university, or so it's a voluntary basis space. And I, when I hear a lot of stories about those girls in the online space, they are incredible young women who have such appetite for life, knowledge. A lot of them are either engineers, a lot of them are artists, a lot of them are medical doctors, and all of them, they just literally are in the limbo of nothing for them, and none of they have achieved so far is acknowledged in any of the respect, and they're actually disrespected. They are disrespected because their rights have been limited to nothing. There is no rights for a woman, and there's nothing there for them to have hopes for. And so that connection that they still have something to look for, like the online schools where they meet either regular, like 3 times a week or once a week or twice a month. It's that, first of all, they meet together in that space. They created their own community. They created their own support. They created, because it really affected their mental health as well. I can't imagine myself if over the sudden I've been told you can't go out for shopping, you can't move anywhere, you are completely covered, you can't say a word. You can't even go to the park, and I probably would shit myself. What is the purpose of me living? Why I'm even here? So it's so sad, but at the same time, I'm glad that there is, as long as we are giving them, as she said, that light in the darkness. That's the major thing, because it's up to them what will be the next. It's not us, it's them. And that's the hope that we all have, whoever is involved in this process. We have that, we leave them with the strength. And they have already the strength. They're strong women.
Exactly. At least there's a light
There is.
they see and works towards that, and that light will become bigger even if it was our way. So that's amazing. So let's go to the relation of Islam when it comes to Taliban's restriction of women education. Like, how can a Muslim address these arguments, or do you think that it has to do with that, with Islam?
Absolutely not. And we all know that, because not all, in terms of researchers or people involved or with knowledge in terms of Afghanistan, first of all, there is no logic in terms of what Taliban are trying to achieve. I don't think they even know what they're doing anymore. I think they lost kind of a rationale behind every single restrictions and every single. So first of all, there's nowhere in Quran in terms of limitation of education of women. There's nothing.
Exactly.
It's again interpretation by Taliban, who came from this kind of a Pashtun background of Sharia law that dictates this kind of nonsense of something that doesn't exist, and neither in Quran it says that if the girls or if women are not following the law, they're going to be physically punished. They're being killed. They're being interrogated. They're being tortured for dyeing their hair. Where in Quran is that?
Yeah, exactly. Like this is one of the things that every Muslim can challenge, that Taliban person or something like this that says women education is haram or whatever. This is nowhere found either in Quran or the Sunnah, which is the Hadith Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him sayings. So it's always has to come from that person to know, because when it's like when it's coming from a European, he says that comes from Islamic teaching, I might understand why he said that, because he's not like, he doesn't know what the Quran says. He needs someone to inform him. And there's like absolutely like one of the first verses that was sent to the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him was read, O Muhammad, read. So in that surah, there's no gender in it. It doesn't say just like just read for men, but it says in general. And Islam always encourages. And there's another surah that also mentioned that the man and the woman in all of them, like I think I have it on the phone. I remember I took a screenshot so I can read it. Yeah. So it says in the Quran in Surah Al-Ahzab, it says, indeed the Muslim man and Muslim woman, the believing man and the believing woman, the obedient man and obedient woman, the truthful man and the truthful woman, the patient man and the patient woman, the humble man and the humble woman, the charitable man and the charitable woman, the fasting man and the fasting woman, the who guard their private parts, and the women who do so, and the men who remember Allah often, and the women who do so. For them Allah has prepared forgiveness and great reward. It didn't God didn't only specify this for only men, or even in the hadith, the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him, he always says, the best of you are those who are best to their woman. And he also has another saying. He has إنما النساء شقائق الرجال, which means like women are just as equal to men. That's what a lot of scholars have interpreted. Yeah, as so it's sometimes it's not a good feeling when someone says that it comes from Islam, these kind of teaching, because like there's a lot of Muslim countries where women have taken huge roles in terms of judges, or like even prime ministers, or like in a lot of roles where women led. And the Prophet Muhammad's peace be upon him, and most of his sayings were conveyed by Aisha, radiallahu anha, his wife, and she was considered as a scholar from many Muslim scholars. So women has a huge respect in our religion, and a lot of people should know that.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing, in terms of Afghanistan, the Taliban restrictive rules on women's education, and other restrictive in terms of based restrictions. How can the international community effectively support women's education in regions controlled by restrictive regimes like Taliban?
I suppose always the danger of international community, especially in the context of Taliban and in terms of Afghanistan, it's always dangerous. We know that interventions in any context of support doesn't end too well. And what we have to do is only to work together with Afghan communities. And there's a lot of people who are involved in the online schools, who are principals of the schools, who are the teachers, who are educators, who are the past academics, who are willing still, and a lot of them are men, right? So it's only women to women. It's very much gender mix in terms of how the online schools are working. So I think it's collaboratively, we need to work together in terms of how best it works there on the ground in Afghanistan, because they know best what they need. The girls exactly knows what they need. The teachers, the principals, the academics there, they know exactly what works best. So we just need to listen to the needs. And they are really well educated and knowledgeable and experienced people in terms of knowing how we can help them. So once we are extending our ear towards and how we can respond to that, this is how the international community can really help. Otherwise, if we are coming from, again, this we know best, and you will do exactly how the way we tell you, it's always ends as a tragic, and it fuels the reactive responses of Taliban by scrutinizing even more and adding more layers to that. Again, as we remember from Laura Bush, who was saying that women in Afghanistan, they need help. Since when they need help? They're in this situation. They are well capable of knowing what works best for them. So I think we need to start taking into account a long history of Western people of knowing you have to do this way, because otherwise your way, it's not the way. So I think that's the harsh consequences in terms of international community. And I always get this kind of a moment of international community reaction on, it's like, oh no, not again. Because we saw the riots in terms of Iraq and Syria, in terms of justification on war or on terror, carried over there, and how that ruined lives and future. And we
Exactly.
the whole space of that we lost.
Yeah, and that's like this kind of thing should be applied, I think, to every conflict or problem that people are facing, because the people who are struggling with a problem, they are the ones who will come up with a solution. Because you as an outsider, you don't know how it feels like to be
Absolutely.
into that girl's perspective or in that person's shoes. So it should always we can provide the support, but they come up with a solution. That's that's very important for people to have that participation of the person who's struggling with this. So yeah, last thing in the podcast, I like to end it like there's this Palestinian poem writer, you know, Mahmoud Darwish. I like to always recite his things. He has this verse in a poem. He says, على هذه الأرض ما يستحق الحياة, which means we have on this earth what makes life worth living. And he was talking about Palestine. And by the end of this podcast, I'd like to ask you what makes life to you worth living? Is it a person? Is it a passion? Is it something?
Yeah, I think coming back to what Fresh just said, how I'm part of something that we're part of much bigger community. We're not only here, right? We're not limited into the small space of Western. We're talking about the world, and we have to live together. Despite the differences, there is a lot of commonalities, and what passionately wakes me up in the morning, and in a not wrong way, that what keeps me awake. No, it doesn't keep me awake, but it more kind of a driver to the next day. It's the fact how what Fresh has said, that light in the darkness, and if someone perceives whatever I do every single day to improve that, that's probably the biggest driver in terms of why I do things that I do, because of people. And coming back to what we were saying and at the start in terms of my education, and human became a center of what the path and the career and who I am today. It's still people, and people in the context of that we can change so much.
Amazing. Amazing. That's such a beautiful thing to hear from you, and it goes back to the first quote that was said by Nelson Mandela, where he said, I will say it again, just because it applies so much to what you said and what you are doing. It goes, what counts in life, not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made on the life of others, and you are definitely doing that. And thank you very much for being on this podcast. And I really appreciate this talk, and I hope that we'll do more of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me, and thank you for making that first step in terms of making that happening here in Ireland. And I know that you have loads of plans, so but I think it's such an important space in terms of a conversation. And prior to this podcast, well, I had a very lengthy conversation with Abdul, who's behind the cars, about Turkey, and I think that's very important that we have that conversations openly, and we find those solutions.
Right. Abdul, I didn't thank him. He's one of the best brothers I know in Ireland. Thank you very much for helping me doing that and managing 3 cameras, not one. So thank you very much. Thank you again, Alan. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.